Yeah,
This conference will now be recorded.
yeah. Yesterday we have seen the basics of this object-oriented programming, right? We have seen what is a class and what an object is, and and what are different ways of creating a class that we have seen here. Okay. So we can use three keywords, right? What are the three keywords with which we can create a class? Class, object, and trait. Okay, class, object, and trait. And we have seen what is the difference between usage of this keyword class and then the usage of this object. So class have any finite number of objects can be created externally by using a keyword, and with object we can't create any object externally. Internally is going to create one object, only one object exactly. That is called as companion object, and the corresponding class is called as companion class. It is also called as singleton object. Okay. Now we have seen that these are the features of any object-oriented programming: encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and data abstraction. Okay. So what is encapsulation, inheritance? Okay. So this encapsulation, let's just try to see in this session that encapsulation and one more that we call as polymorphism. What is encapsulation and what is this polymorphism? Let's try to understand the basics of this. I'm not getting the depth of this. The basics of let's first understand basics. Later we shall get into the depth of them. Okay. So encapsulation and in what we call as polymorphism. Just we shall postpone this trait for now. Okay, we are not going to discuss this trait for now. We shall discuss after few sessions. So we will be using class and object in our programming from now. Okay. So in this, let me start the project. Yeah. Here, let me create a new object, a Scala object, a Scala class. Let me create one object, a Scala class. Let me call this class as some student class. Student. Okay. We just did the yesterday's program. So class student. So what does a class can contain? Okay, we have seen yesterday a class can contain member variables. We call them as member variables to hold data. Okay, to hold data, and member methods. We call them as what? Member methods to operate on the data. To hold the data variables and to operate on the data we use methods. Okay, and how do we create those variables to hold the data? We can have here in this, what is that we can have to hold the data? That is, we can have objects, right? We use objects that we have discussed in our beginning sessions of the Scala programming. So let's say name, student name, string. Let me use some. So let me use var here. Why? Because we shall have multiple objects. So further we shall have var. Why? Because to create var creates mutable object, isn't it? So here we are creating, trying to create one string object with this, and var, let's say some id int equal. Let me give some 0 here, and var marks array of int. We say the marks as array of int. Just let me discuss. Otherwise, you can say that simply some array of some. Um, I say something like new array. So I can write like this. Some simply I can say something array of int of, let me say some 6 marks or 6 subjects. Let me say like this. Okay. These are the member variables and member methods. So what? How do we define a method? There's nothing but a function, right? A function that belongs to a class will be called as simply a method. Okay. So def, we use the keyword def for defining a method, def, and followed by that method. Okay. So just to display the content of this student. Okay. Just I'm creating the only content of this. Creating a function to display the content of this student. Okay. Content in the sense the name, id, and marks. Okay. Def and mm, let me just display, sorry, display, and I am not returning anything, just I'm writing unit here equal to, just let us print it, println uh, println student's name is, you can write like this, name, student name. Next, println I use student id, id is id is some, I use some plus id. Next, I use marks, println student marks are plus marks dot make string. I think you remembered about this, comma. Okay, this is fine. You know, this is what is that we are doing here. It is, we are wrapping up. Okay, we are wrapping. You know, we're wrapping. What is the student actually? I'm saying it is as a class. I'm saying it as a class name. Okay, but basically, very basically, at core level, I say that student is also a type. Like we have what you call as name, id, integer as a type, string as a type, and array as a type. Like I say, the student is also a type. Okay, let me just explain this. That is, remember guys, okay, int, integer type, a string type, a float type. Okay, likewise we have different types. Likewise we have array of integers, different array of integers, a list of it, we have different types of data. Okay, these are predefined types, predefined types. Okay, then what about this class? What is that we are trying to use here with class? Okay, what is it we are doing? Simply we are assigning some abc, some class name, and we are writing some variables. Okay, and we are writing some methods, we're writing some methods. Okay, and we are closing it. Okay, so understand that here abc, class abc, even though we are calling it as a class, at core level, it is called as a type only. Like we have predefined types, int, string, float, and array, all this. Abc is also a type, but this is not a predefined type, this is called as user defined type. Okay, so I can call this class as a, at core level, I'm telling you, at core level we call it as a user defined type, user defined type. Okay, so remember guys, in programming, if you take any programming language, there will be whether it is class, or whether it is method, or whether it is something else, keywords or anything. Okay, we can divide all them into two types. Mainly, we can have two types of things in any programming language. Two types of constructs, which is the constructs. Construct. I'm repeating the statement. Word construct. 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 They're nothing but which are used for building up an application. That is called as a construct. It may be a keyword. It may be a class. It can be some data type. It can be anything. We call all these as constructs. Okay. So we can have predefined constructs and user defined constructs. I'm repeating the statement guys here. Predefined, any programming language, predefined constructs and user defined. This is important. User defined construct. What is a construct? What's a construct guys? A construct is simply, anything that we use in a programming, a construct is something like, what, it can be a some keyword, it can be a keyword, it can be some, what you call as some method, it can be some operator, with this only, right? Whatever the symbols or methods or functions or whatever we have in programming language, we call everything as a, basically everything is called as a construct that can be used for constructing a program, that which are used for constructing a program. or like we use bricks, sand, cement, and all these we use for building, constructing a building, isn't it? We use for construction. So likewise we use keyword, method, operator, all these we use for creation, for constructing a program. Okay, just let me show you this in the program here. Oh, class is a keyword here. Okay, and where is also a keyword. What is a keyword? Name is, what is name here? It's a user defined variable. User defined variable. What about where? There's a predefined keyword. Class is also a predefined keyword, and student is a user defined some variable, some name, and df is a predefined keyword. Okay, and println is a predefined function. Predefined function. So if you take anything in this program, all these are, each and every word whatever we have here, each and every word including this operator, everything is called as a construct. Everything is a construct. So we construct a program by using constructs. That's it. It can be an int, it can be an operator, it can be some symbol, it can be some keyword, it can be some operator, it can be anything. Okay, so anything will be considered as a construct. Okay, so the program, any programming language comes with predefined constructs. That is, it gives some set of already some keywords, some methods, some operators already, it gives some set of predefined thing. But the programming language gives provides us with this already some constructs. But the programming language also gives a flexibility of creating our own constructs. Okay, so this predefined constructs are there, but every programming language gives the user a flexibility to define or to create his or her own constructs. Okay, remember that point. Okay, predefined and user defined. We have predefined functions, user defined functions, predefined classes, user defined classes, predefined types, user defined types. So we have everything predefined and user defined. Predefined is already provided by the language. User defined, we create them. We create the user defined. But how do we create user defined? The programming language will give us some rules, some syntax, so that you can create user defined constructs. I want to create a user defined function. You have an option for it. You have a syntax for creating it. And I would like to create a user defined let us say some what you call a class. So for that you have some syntax. So for everything to be created by the user, some syntax is provided. So we have to use the syntax and semantics, and we can create our user defined constructs. It can be a class, it can be keyword, it can be method, it can be operator, it can be a trait, or it can be object. It can be anything. Is clear, guys? Okay, similarly we have predefined types and user defined types. Okay, predefined types and user defined types. Okay, so this predefined types are already provided. We did not create int, we did not create string, we did not create float. Okay, these are already predefined in the, they're already provided by the language. Okay, but this what you call as this scala programming or any programming language also provided the users, programmers, a flexibility to create their own types, to create their own types. Okay, like we have these predefined types or primitive data types. Here we have scala language also providing a flexibility of creating our own types. Okay, so one of such types which can be created by the user is class. Remember that. So at core level class is called as a user defined type. Remember, it is a user defined type. Okay, so if you want to create a user defined type, we can use a class here. In C language, if we have the idea of C language, we have a keyword which can be used for creating user defined types. Can you tell me what is that? In C language, mainly we have it C language. Even C++ also supports it. We have a concept or a keyword that can be used for creating our own types, user defined data types. What is that called as? Any idea, guys? Have you heard about structure? Have you heard about structures? Structures. We use the keyword struct. The keyword is struct, and with the concept is structures. So structures are used for creating user-defined types. User-defined types. A data type, we can call it, instead of calling it data type, we call it as simply type. Okay. Similarly, class is also a user-defined type. Remember, like these are the predefined types. Class can be used for creating user-defined types. Basically, if you ask what is a class is simply a user-defined type. So what we can have in the class? In the class, we can have variables and we can have the methods. We can have the variables and we can have the methods. I'm telling you, we can. It is not compulsion. We can. We can either have. So what does a class can contain? We have discussed that in the last session, but a class can contain variables like I shown you in the program and methods. So to variables to hold the data and methods to what called as to operate on that data. Okay. Uh, okay, so the what is here our main interest is to understand encapsulation. Actually, encapsulation is simply defined as wrapping up wrapping of data, wrapping up of variables and methods into a single unit is defined as what called as encapsulation. Encapsulate, capsule. When we say that is something like a capsule, what does it mean? We'll have the all this that the content whatever we take as a medicine, that will be there inside something. It is enclosed in something, uh, you know in something like a capsule. We call it as a capsule, right? So likewise, we're wrapping up the variables and methods into a single unit. That feature is called as encapsulation. If you take any programming language, this encapsulation doesn't have any special feature, right? The feature of our the capability or ability of any programming language to what you call as wrap variables and methods into a single unit. What is the single unit here? The single unit is nothing but a class here. Okay, the single unit is nothing but a class. Okay, the basic feature of any object-oriented program language is to define a class first. Okay, the defining the class itself is called as an encapsulation. That is wrapping up of variables and methods into a single unit. That is simply called as a the single unit will be called as a class. Okay, but in C language or C++ language, I don't know about the other languages whether they have or not structures. uh, what does the structure can contain in other in C language or C++? What does the structure contain? Here a class can contain variables as well as methods. Okay, but a structure or a union, even we have union also, right? So a structure or union, they can contain only variables but not the methods. I will show you that. I will show you in the coming up sessions. So a structure or a union, they can contain only the variables but not methods, but whereas a class can contain variables as well as methods. I'll simply explain here. Structure, we have structured data type in Hive. We have structured data type in Scala also. Structure, it can have only variables but not methods, but a class can have variables as well as methods. So wrapping up of variables and methods single unit, that will be called as a class. Remember that point. Clear, guys? Any questions on this, please? Yeah, Hina, Raviteja, Anurag, do you have any questions? Ankur, just remember that everything is a construct, guys. Everything is a construct in a programming language, or user defined constructs and predefined constructs. So every any program will come with some set of predefined constructs, and it also provides a flexibility of creating our own constructs, which will be called as user defined constructs. So user defined methods, user defined variables, user defined functions, likewise. No, yeah, exactly. Single class having uh, only one class and only one object. One class and one object, that's it. Okay, such type of classes we create as what? Object. Such type of class is called as what? Singleton object, actually. The corresponding class is called as companion class, and the corresponding object is called as companion object. One class, one object, that's it. The same thing, the same thing can be used as a class as object both. Okay, that is the usage of this object. Why do we use that object? That we have a special reason for it. We'll discuss that. Okay, just don't worry about why we have like that. Just remember, this is what that is. Okay, shall discuss about it later. Okay, so what do you say now? This feature itself, this feature, that is the feature of, or the ability of, wrapping up of data and methods, wrapping up of data and methods into a single unit. This is called as encapsulation. Very simple. Okay, so there's nothing to show extra about this encapsulation. You have to understand this concept itself, that is wrapping up of data and methods into a single unit is called as an encapsulation. Clear, guys? Okay, so how many variables we can have, how many methods we can have in this? Here we have three variables: name, id, and marks. Three variables are there. Okay, and what is the type of data? This name is referring to string, and id is referring to integer, and marks is referring to array of integers. Okay, so how many variables and how many methods can it have? A class, it can have any finite number of, I'm telling you finite, not infinite, any finite number of variables and any finite number of methods. Here we have taken only one method, but there can be any number of methods. We'll see in the coming up sessions. Okay, it's clear, guys? Very simple. A class wrapping up of data and methods into a single unit. That is called, basically that is a class. Okay, and what encapsulation? This feature itself is called as encapsulation. Is it clear, guys, about this? Okay, fine. Now this is just let me run this code, and so class and student. Can we run this code now? Can we run this code? Is it possible to run this code? Yeah, guys, is it possible to run this code? No. Code can be executed only from main method. Okay, so we have to create a main method. Where we should create a main method, that main method cannot be created inside a class. Okay, that can be created inside a singleton object only. That must be created inside a singleton object. So that will be created by using objects. Object, I call it as main class. Okay, main class. uh, mm, okay, df main asks array of int, not sorry, not int, it is array of string, colon unit. We'll understand why main has to be like this. This main has to be always like this only, guys. We can't change it. This is fixed. This is fixed. Even though if you want to change it, it won't allow. Except this name. Instead of args, we can use any name, any string we can use, but remaining everything must be same. Okay, this part I'm telling you, this part must be always same. We should not change it. Okay, remember that point. Okay, so object main class def main. And how do we create an object? So this class doesn't have any meaning. Just the creation of a class doesn't do anything. We need to create an object for the class, and we need to make use of this data and functions only with the help of the object. How do we create an object of this class student here? Very simple. Well, how do we create an object first? New. This is a keyword that is used for creation of an object for any class. Okay, new students. This creates an object. Okay, but we should have a reference to this object. So let us say val s1 colon, to which class it belongs to? Student, isn't it? It belongs to student, equal to new student. Val s1 colon student equal to, this is how we create an object. This statement, actually remember, this combination of these two words create an object, and this s1 is acting as a reference to that object. Clear, guys? But this is optional, guys. This part is optional. If you want, you can add it or you can just neglect. That doesn't make any difference. But so as the beginners, we should let us try to use this. Why? Because we become familiar and we feel easy. We can understand the trace the program easily in case of any failure. Okay. Right. After the object is created, we need to give the data, provide the data to the variables, to the objects by using this S1 and execute that methods, display method that by using again S1 only. Okay. S1 dot name. I give the name as some, let us say Mike. S1 dot ID equal, let me say 101. S1 dot marks. So it is an array, right? Marks is referring to an array. Okay, we have to provide like this. Marks of 0. Let me say, so how many marks we can enter? What is the size of the array we have fixed here? 6. So we can have 6 elements into that array, 6 integers into that array. Okay. So the first one, marks of 0. I enter some 70 marks. S1 dot marks of 1. It is some, let me say 40. S1 dot marks of some 20, marks of some 2, let me take some 80, and S1 dot marks of some 3, let us take it as some 90. So let me just check only 4 here, enough. So we gave 4 values, that's it. And finally we have to call the method S1 dot method is display, that's it. Okay, so only this part is going to be executed. The execution starts with this, the program execution starts with this, and the very first thing is we have to, then object will be created and S1 will be S1 will refer to that object, and we assign the data by using the object, and we are executing the state that method by using the object itself. Okay, fine. Now let us run this code. You can see here, you will, even though we have student and main class here, this is student and this is main class, we get the run option only for main class but not for student. You can see this, run main class. It is simply we get the data printed onto the console. I think that's okay. You can see here the student name. I think I written different. Yeah, student name is Mike. Student ID is 101. Student marks is 70, 40, 80, and 90. It's very simple, guys. To write a program is very simple. Okay, so I'm right. The thing is how one class is communicating with other class, that we have to understand, guys, here. Okay, this one class, isn't it? And this is getting communicated with this. Okay, are we able to see this, how the communication is going on, how the communication is happening between the classes here? Okay, fine. Now the thing is, we shall focus on this methods now. How can we define a method? What are the different ways of creating method? And what is this unit? And what is this braces? Why you're using this? Here we don't have anything here, but here we have arcs here. Can you tell me, guys, here how many user-defined functions are there here, or methods? I guess a method. How many user-defined methods are there here? How many user-defined methods are there in this code? Whatever the code we have written, how many user-defined methods are there? Yeah, 2. What are they? One is what are they? Two two user-defined methods. So any user-defined method that starts with creation starts with the keyword def. Okay, def, not main class. main, simply main, not main class, okay, it is simply main only. Okay, so def, every user defined method starts with the keyword def, the creation starts with def. So display and main, these are the two user defined, what you call as methods, remember that always. Okay, the user defined. Okay, now how many user defined classes are there here? You must understand all these guys, you must understand how many user defined classes are there here. Yeah, Raviteja, how many? Yeah, two again. Student, one is student, another is main class. One or two? Two, right? Yeah. Now, can you tell me how many predefined classes are there? How many predefined classes? I'm asking predefined, not user defined. Predefined classes. Predefined classes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Fine. So remember, only two. Only two guys. Remember. The naming convention for any class. The naming for convention for any class is the class name should start with uppercase letter. Remember, so all predefined will be uppercase letter only. Okay, even user defined also it is recommended to go with uppercase letter. Okay, so wherever we have uppercase letter, string, it is a class. It is a predefined class. Array, yes, is a class. It is a class. It's a predefined class. That's what I'm telling here. It's a predefined class. Uh, okay, and array, and next to unit, and what else we have in this? That's it. Okay, just make a note of all these points, guys. Okay, a class name always starts with uppercase letter. Remember, a class name always starts with uppercase letter. Remember that point. Okay, it is upper camel case because the convention is called as upper camel case. Okay, and what about predefined the naming convention of a method here? What are the user defined methods here? Display and main, right? So the naming convention is always use lowercase letters, but it's lower camel case. Now can you tell me in this we have uh, predefined methods. Can you tell me what are the predefined methods in this? Predefined methods. Predefined methods, guys. User defined methods are display and main. Okay, what are predefined methods? Yes, make string, only make string, mkstring. New is not an operator. It is a actually it is an operator actually. It's called as an operator actually. Okay, it is not a function method actually. You know, println. Println is also a predefined method. Println is also a predefined method. Okay, now we are going to discuss that about methods only. Okay, what is a method, how to identify a method in a program? It's very simple, very simple. Let me show you that. Let me explain that before getting into this. Yeah, naming convention for a class. Naming convention of a class, so it has to use always upper camel case. We call it as upper camel case. What by upper camel case? So examples, unit, the student data. Okay, and if it is employee. So upper camel case in the sense, if we have only one word, the one word starts with we call as uppercase, and if you have two words, it is if it is made up of two words, every word starts with uppercase. Every word starts with an uppercase letter. That is called as upper camel case. Okay, and similarly, the naming convention of a method. So this is suggested always. Okay, if you want to create our own class or own methods also, this is what's suggested. method or function. I can say that method or function is lower camel case. This is lower camel case. So examples. The example is we can have println. It is a predefined one. It's a predefined. Remember, a function will have always this parenthesis. Our method will have always parenthesis. There can be something in between this. There can be something in between this parenthesis, but it will have compulsory a parenthesis. Remember, guys. Okay, how do we identify a method or a function? Any programming is, it will be for a word followed by these braces. It will be called as that too. Don't misunderstand, guys. It must be this. This is the convention, naming convention, and followed by this brace. So there can be something or it can be empty. That is called as a method. Okay, something like main. In main we have args, right? Args of some array of string. This also called as a methods. So likewise, we can create our own methods also. We have created display, right? Display. We have written something like this. If we remove these braces, it will become simply a variable, guys. It doesn't become a function or a method. Remember, okay? This is a naming convention. So this is called as lower camel case. Something like make string. Make string is also a predefined, right? It's a predefined method. So you can see this. It is made up of two words. Mk is one word and the string is another word. So the starting letter of first word is lowercase and the remaining all the words are uppercase. This is called as lower camel case. Is it fine, guys? Okay. Now let us see how do we create a function or a method. What we have to do that. Okay. So let us say a function or a method. So to understand this polymorphism, we need to understand what is a function or what a method is. It's very important, guys. So, okay, a function or a method creation always starts with a creation starts with the keyword def, the keyword called as def. Remember, okay. And what is the purpose of a function? A function purpose is to take some data, process it, and give some output as some result. Give some result as output. Okay, that's the purpose of any function. Take something, some logic. What is the function is some logic to be executed. So a function defines the logic to be executed, a logic to be executed. So if you want to execute a logic, obviously it requires some data, isn't it? Some data is required to execute some logic. So what is that logic to be executed? That we define in the form of statements, okay, or as a block, that is called as a function. That's it, very simple, guys. So what is the logic to be executed? That logic we define, that we provide in the form of some set of statements, some set of instructions. That is called as a function. Very simple. Okay. How do we implement it? How do we create it? So by the keyword def and followed by function name. We can use any string here, guys. I'm using f name here. You can use any name for it. So we are trying to create user defined functions, user defined methods here, guys. Not predefined, user defined methods. Okay. F name. And here we need to provide input. In this bracket, if you want trying to provide input, we have to provide that input in these braces, followed by the result type. So we call this as generally return type in other languages. In C, Java, C, or C++, Python, we call it as return type, a function return type. But in Scala language, do not call it as return type, call it as result type. Call it as result type. Okay. And in this we write, the logic. What are the logic that is required to be executed? That logic we write here. This is the logic actually. So the logic can be implemented in with any number of statements, guys. Not just one statement, can be implemented with any number of statements. That's it, very simple. And what is the result type is? The result type is something like, what do you call it? The type of output is expected. Let me explain a simple example. I write an example here. To write a method to add to numbers, sorry, to add to integers. So how do we write a method for this? Def. So let me use some uh, add So I'm using creating a method name as add, and to add two integers. So I take one of the integers as some x. It must be an integer, right? So it must belong to a class int. I take one more integer. Okay, this is the input. Just to see the the syntax and what we are trying to do here. Df add x colon int y colon int, and uh, let us write about this result type later, equal to. So what is that we have to do here? We have to perform the addition of this, isn't it? X plus y. Close it. That I'm writing only simple logic, is it? So if we add two integers, what would be the result? Will it be is it an will it again it will be an integer also, right? If when we add two integers, the result will be an integer again. So that will become the type, the result type here. Okay, so input we provide in the form of arguments. We call this as input arguments. X and y are called as the input arguments. We pass the input to a function or a method with the help of some arguments, some variables. So x and y are called as parameters or variables or arguments here. And this is the return result type, the type of the result that the function is returning or calculating. Here guys, this is what. This is the simply we write the function like this. Okay, now I write some function like this. Now you have to tell me what is the return type of it. Def add no, add no, some a array of int. I am writing this code here. Just look at that and you have to tell me the return type of it. Mm, val b equal to new array of string of, let us say, some 20, and for 02 a dot size minus 1 by 1 by 1, mm, b of I equal to a of I dot to string plus I. Close it and return b. Yeah, can you tell me the return type of this, guys? Return type of this method, guys, a function? No, not a struct. What is this b? B is, what is this b? B is not a string, right? No. Yes, array of string. B is array of string. Array of string, guys. This is what we have to write here. Okay, so what is that we are returning here? B. So b belongs to array of string. Okay, that we have to return here. But this is optional, guys. This part is purely optional. This is optional. This is purely optional. If you want, you can write it, but if you do not have a correct idea of what the result type is, you can simply skip it. You can simply ignore it. It is not going to make any difference. It is purely optional. It is purely optional, guys. Okay, do not worry about this. So this is how we can create a method. Very simple. Okay, so we can, like this we can create methods, and four categories of methods or functions are there actually. Four categories: methods or functions. Okay, they are, I say, functions, set of functions. First category, with input and without output. I say with it only, without. And two, with input and without output. Third, without, sorry, input, and with output. And final last one, without input and without output. These are the four categories, guys. Four categories of creation of methods or functions. In any programming language, generally these are the four types: input with and with output, with and without input output. The possible combinations of with and without of input and output. That's it. Total we get four combinations: with input and without output. Now, can you tell me here what the function is? This is with input and with output. This is also with input and without output. Okay. Now see this. I write some function like def add one colon int equal to println. I read this here. Let me write here itself in there some program. Let me create one more class here, guys. Let me create one more class. Not to go directly, I can write the class name here. So class some demo are functions. Class functions. So in this I am creating only the functions. I'm not writing anything else. Simply functions. Def add one x colon int comma y colon int equal to, so not equal to, colon int equal to x plus y. Anything wrong, guys, here? Df add one x colon int y colon int. Something wrong here. What is it? Add one. What's that? Cannot resolve symbol x. Here we have x, right? X colon int. Sorry, this is not semicolon, guys. Colon. This is colon. Okay. Next, this one function I use add two of x colon int and y colon int colon unit equal to println the sum is plus x plus y. Okay, that's done. This is second method, and I create one more method here. Def add 3 colon int println enter uh, two values, two integers or two integers. Okay, so how do we read the two integers from the keyboard standard input? Let me call it as x colon int equal to scala dot io dot stdin dot read int, isn't it? Next, control D, so use y also here, y colon int, and finally x plus y. Okay, and close this. Finally, add one more here. Df add 4 okay colon unit. Read the same code here. 12v, and finally println the sum is plus x plus y. That's it, guys. So this is the function. This is the first function. Add one is with input and with output. The first function, okay. And this is first. The second function is with input and without output. So if the function doesn't return anything, if a function doesn't return anything, the return type will be, the result type will be unit. Remember, unit in the sense, in other languages, in Java, other languages, we have a keyword called as void. Do you remember void? Void void. In Java language, public static void main, void void. Okay, so here we do not have the keyword void in the Scala language, so the replacement of void is unity here. Okay, the replacement of void is unity in this Scala language. Okay, remember that. So if function or method doesn't return anything, the result type will be units. Okay, remember that point. And this add 3, this is the function without input. So we're not passing any argument, input arguments, and with output. But the result type is output, the integer again. Next, the last one is without input and without output. And without output. This is, guys. So these are the 4 different types of writing the methods, creating the user-defined methods. Clear? Is it fine, guys? Now, so class, this belongs to class called as functions. Okay, so how shall we call this function, these methods again? So the as this be all these functions, all these functions belong to the class called as functions. Here we have to define an object for these functions, and we have to call this, execute this function with the help of that object reference. Okay, how do we do is very simple here. That is in the main method only, that we have to write everything in the main method. That is by using new functions, and have a reference to this val f equal to new functions. So how do we create it? I can write like this: functions functions equal to new functions. Okay, and after that, f dot add one of, we need to pass two parameters here. Okay, we need to add part two parameters. Let me call it as 2 and 3, 2 comma 3. Let me write like this directly: println comma 3. Next, what the second one? Add 2. So f dot add, sorry, add 2. Add 2 of, again we need to pass some 2 elements. Let me pass some 20 and 30. Next, again the third function is add 3. It returns some value, so use println to print the return value. F dot add 3. Okay, that's it. And finally, println f dot add 4. That's it, guys. Okay, let's run this code. Run main class. Enter two integers, 20 and 30. 30. Enter two integers, some 30 and 40. The sum is 70. That's it. Okay, this is how we get the data, guys. Very simple. Okay, I think we got the basic idea of what a function is, and how to define a function and how to define a method. We got the basic idea of all this. Clear, guys? Okay, just let's wind up the session for today, and tomorrow we shall try to discuss about this. Okay, we shall try to discuss about more about the functions. Once we finish about the functions, then we shall see that what you call as this polymorphism, and in that we have function overloading, function overriding concepts are there. We shall discuss about them. Okay, clear, guys? I think this session gave you the basic idea of what is a function or what is a method, and how do we pass the data to them, and how do we execute them. Is it okay, guys? Any questions? Yeah. Fine, guys. If you have no questions, just let us wind up the session for today. Tomorrow we shall continue the session. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks for your time. Thank you.